Welcome on in, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for this boss montage of the bosses of Demon Souls. I decided to play through all the Souls games on stream just to get myself a little bit more hyped and excited for Elden Ring, although I am quite excited already. We started off with the first boss of the game being the Phalanx. I burned through quite a few of my fire bombs and keep buffing my weapon with fire, as this boss is quite susceptible to the fire damage. I decided to take out all the slimes just to make things a little bit easier for ourselves, and sometimes they can drop those little hard stones that are helpful for upgrading our weapon a little later on. Now, the first time I had fought this boss last year, I was terrified that that soul mass in the middle would shoot out soul arrows if I had taken out all the phalanxes, but as it turns out, it just kind of hobbles away from us and doesn't have any attacks of its own. And with that, we wrap up the first boss of the game with an easy win on our first try.
First boss down.
And of course, after the Phalanx, you know we gotta go for the Tower Knight next. Now, I don't show it, but we do take out all the archers before we start tangoing the Dance of Death with the Tower Knight. This boss is fairly easy, has pretty big wind-ups, but the most inconvenient thing was the stress of the impending doom of my controller dying.
That is very bad
Now,
news.
thankfully, the controller does not die through this playthrough, and I am able to hook up the charging cable safely and securely after this fight. Now, I do forget that you need to smack both ankles in order to knock him over. I was thinking that you just need to smack one of them enough and he'll fall over. Well, we thankfully do a huge amount of damage to his head when he falls over. He stands back up, but it is only for but a few more moments. We smack those ankles just a little bit more, get him to fall back over, and that is that. That wraps up the fight pretty easily.
Yeah, saw that coming.
But what is the Tower Knight fight unless he falls on top of you? A little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Get that stamina heal into 6.
Yeah,
that's boss number 2 on the first try.
Boss number 2 down, first try.
And now, of course, after the Tower Knight, we make our way over to the Archstone of the Burrow King and tackle the first boss of the area, the Armor Spider. Now, this is going to be our second attempt on this boss. The first attempt, I fall victim to his Sea of Fire ability. That is when the Armored Spider spews out a black tar-like substance that it then catches on fire. Now, this move one-taps me. I don't know if it one-taps you no matter what, but it was rather unfortunate when it did.
This is so much easier than last
The best
time.
thing I found was to just run all the way to the back, hang out until the fire extinguishes, push back in, and poke it a few more times. It tends to do it whenever it takes too much damage or over time. It only did it once for us this play. And just like that, a few pokes in, we wrap up the Armor Spider.
Pushed around a bit. Round 2, we got this.
Up next, after the Armor Spider, is of course the Flame Lurker,
Alright,
the one thing standing between us and boss weapons. Now, I would be doing a disservice if I didn't show you how I got my butt absolutely handed to me, through whether it was his passive fire or just him smacking me in the forehead with his massive AoE fire abilities. Now, thankfully, I had an obnoxious amount of grass, and through the powers of face tanking and power healing, we are able to conquer the Flame Lurker and start our descent into the Dragon God.
Like a decent amount of meds. Yeah.
Now, with the Dragon God, there are a few things to consider. The first of which, and the most important of which, is how patient you are. If you find yourself on the impatient side of things, like myself, this fight's gonna take you a bit more than one attempt. The object of the fight is simple: smack yourself through some debris and make your way to 2 ballistas located on either side of the arena. Once you activate them, they pierce the Dragon God through his upper arms, and he falls over without a will to fight.
Oh my gosh.
All you have to do then is smack this chin stump of a horn until he relinquishes his demon soul unto you. Thankfully, with a little bit of finesse and a whole lot of slashes, we're able to conquer the Dragon God and take a win throughout the entire Archstone of the Burrow King. I also almost fall off the map here. would have been
Oh, I almost walked
real
off
funny.
the edge right there.
After the Dragon God, we lead into the Fool's Idol, the first area boss of the Arkstone of the Tower Queen. This boss has one gimmick going for it, and it's a really good gimmick if it's your first time playing the game.
Nice magic.
There is an enchanter slash sorcerer that hangs out in the
Yeah.
rafters. You have to take him out before you start the boss fight. Otherwise,
Yeah, you
the
feeling good
boss,
about this?
once their HP reaches 0, will respawn infinitely. Thankfully, they're pretty weak. However, after a few good
what I
wails
thought.
with the sword, she will teleport to the other end of the arena
See, now she
and
makes funny clones.
place clones throughout the battle area. Now, once he places the clones, only one of her is real. The easiest way to find her is, well, to just
don't
smack
remember where the tracks
your way
are.
up the pews. The one that moves the boss's health bar is the real one. You get about 4 or 5 snacks in before she resets and does the same thing again. She'll also place traps throughout the floor.
Oh, I thought
You'll only see the traps when she initially casts them,
I opened this one.
or you can just forget where they're at. They don't do a huge amount of damage if you're wearing magic resistant gear,
That was the
like
easiest
we are.
boss fight I've actually ever participated in.
But sometimes it's just that easy. Next on our crusade of the first area bosses is
See, what
going to
makes
be
that boss
the
fight
Educator.
Hopefully, correct.
This boss will be the
When we
first
take out
one
the
we meet
Educator?
in the area of the Arkstone of the Chieftain. He'll sit down at the bottom of the arena and flail his tongue at you quite voraciously from the bottom of the arena. As you make your way down, you have to be careful to avoid that lashing of tongue, but once you
Let me
make
get
your
it.
way to him, all you gotta do is keep it nice, close, and cuddly, and smack that tummy much like you would smack the ankles of the Tower Knight. Once you put enough swings into him, he will eventually succumb to that blade sticking out of his stomach and will tumble over. Once he tumbles over, that's when you will be doing real damage to his health bar, as the boss itself is the funny golden crow that sits atop this grotesque mass of
Well, this
flesh.
isn't exactly much.
Once you give it a couple good wails, though, the Educator will stand back up, and you just have to repeat the process. It's quite easy. Just keep smacking that sword blade. You'll know you're hitting it if the tummy gives a good little jiggle. Unlike the Tower Knight, however, you will not do any chip damage when smacking his tummy, so you do have to wait until he falls over. If you want to be saucy with it, you can cast spells at him from a range or shoot him with a bow, but we'll stick with just wailing on him good. Now I decided to get a little fiery after taking the Educator and move over to the Arkstone of the Shadowmen. Now, in this area, the first boss is going to be the Leechmonger. However, this boss is quite comical in nature. He can throw leeches on you, which do a little bit of a dot damage, and he can hit somewhat hard, but if you have a handful of grass and a weapon buffed with fire, you'll be able to cleave through this man easier than a hot knife through
Very
butter.
nice.
You can outdamage any of this healing, and like all of the bosses in this area, I'm going to be taking the win on the first attempt.
Good, that's awesome.
After that, I decided to move back to the Arkstone of the Chieftain
Easy boss
and
fight.
tackle the Old Hero,
Slime on.
the second boss in the area of the Arkstone of the Chieftain. Now, this boss is blind as a bat, but as a consequence of that, he swings his sword around quite chaotically and forcefully. He has a lot of wide swinging abilities and quite a fair amount of reach. His abilities, thankfully, are quite easily rolled and dodged, unless you have a special affinity for face tanking damage, like I do. Thankfully, all you gotta do is wail on this man's kneecaps, either from the front or from the back, whatever suits your fancy. With the help of some magic slime, however, we are able to blitz our way through his kneecaps and take an easy win on our first attempt.
Okay, I was
Up
gonna say,
next,
come on,
we have the
let's go. All right,
Storm
first
King.
try, easy peasy.
This boss is a little fickle sometimes. Sometimes you'll get bombarded by all of the funny flying manta rays. Other times, you're gonna cut through that entire horde with the Storm Ruler easier than a knife through butter. Thankfully, on this attempt, we're able to just absolutely eviscerate the aerial enemies and the Storm King itself. Bang, bang, boom. It's an easy win on this attempt.
Works, baby.
Next up, we work our way back to the Arkstone of the Shadowmen
The Dirty Colossus.
and challenge the second area boss, the Dirty Colossus. Much like the
he's
Leechmonger and all the bosses in this area, He's a walking joke. Pretty easy to just roll around this fellow and wail on him with whatever you see fit. In our case, I have upgraded to the Meat Cleaver at this point. A nice strength-based weapon with S scaling. I buffed with sticky magic slime here for no rhyme or reason, just thought it looked nice. With a few swings though, absolutely chunking this man's health bar. We're going to catch an easy win on the first attempt, but we're going to finish it off in style with a nice rolling attack.
Okay, that was easy.
Once the
First time
lovable
on
and
the
huggable Dirty
that's a
Colossus has met
breeze.
his demise, we work our way to the next area boss, the Maiden Estrella? Asteria? I'm not really sure. I'm adding in letters. It's fine.
Oh.
Now, the only
Well,
thing standing
I'm gonna
between
hope you
you
just
and
stay
her
there
when
for a
you
second
start
while I,
that's
fix
even
this.
worth mentioning is a
Thanks,
knight.
lady.
Now, that knight has pretty big winds up and is quite easily taken out. Apparently,
Oh,
you can just walk up to this woman
That's-
and ask her for her demon soul, and she complies if you take out the
I
knight.
say that's rude. Like
I
I'm
didn't
not
know
the
that
one
was an
just
option,
walked
so
up and started
instead
beating
I
people.
stuck with the tried and true method of smack it until it's no longer there. It turns out to be a pretty easy win with
like,
us thanks to the magic
dear Lord
resistance
is
of
right,
the
Cheeky.
sorcerer's
You have
armor.
health for days.
We'll
You are
catch the
too
win
cruel,
here
though?
and
Wait, can I just take the soul
take out
there?
every boss in this area on the first attempt. Next up, we have the second area
Oh, it's
boss
the
of the
Maneater,
Arkstone
sorry.
of the
Not
Tower
Minotaur.
Queen,
He just looks like
the
a
Maneater. The Maneater has access to quite a few abilities that can knock us off the edge, including dash attacks, Wrath of God, pseudo abilities, and just being an overall large hitbox. Thankfully, we absolutely devastate this boss's health bar with aid from our Meat Cleaver.
Like I
Our
said,
strength is
base
pretty
tanking
high
is
at
in my
this
DNA.
point, and I'm feeling very good about this fight. Considering the first time I played through this game, this boss gave me quite the struggle.
Full ground pound.
Once you get his health bar down to about
Slice his
30%,
toe,
the second
he's
Maneater
down.
will spawn
On to the
in.
next one.
But because we do an obnoxious amount of damage, we're able to take him out before the second one even hits the ground. His buffing ability, it doesn't mean much considering we cleave through his tail in one hearty swing. Now it's just a game of evading while he decides to play Superman and fly about the arena. For some reason, the second Maneater likes to stay in the air quite a bit.
Bro, what
Once
are you
he ends up
doing?
landing, give him a few old
Land.
swings with the Meat Cleaver though, we'll be on our way quite shortly, but we gotta wait for the Maneater to land over at Gate C at the other end of the terminal. One final dash attack's all he'll get, a few more swings, and we'll end it
Oh my
in
God,
style
keep
again with a rolling attack. On our way to the final boss of the area, the Old Monk. Now, this boss works similar to the Educator Argo fight in Dark Souls 3, where it is a PvP boss fight. The Old Monk will summon in a player that you must then duel for rights to win the battle. Thankfully, I matched with
Can't parry
someone who
that move,
decided to
sweetheart.
use spells, and I'm wearing the Sorcerer's gear. So magic's not doing a whole lot of damage to me, although it will chip away at
you're out
me
of magic,
quite a bit.
sweetheart.
I don't know why Sweetheart was my word of choice for this fight, but it was. Thankfully, the rolling attack of the Meat Cleaver is quite a decent area of attack and does a sizable
hit it by
amount of
another rolling
damage,
dash?
rivaling just a normal swing. We'll chase them back and forth across the arena a few times as they attempt to parry
How about
us.
another one?
Thanks to our
Want another
massive
one?
staggering power of the Meat Cleaver,
Whoop.
we're able to take this fight quite easily and quite quickly. Next up is going to be the Penetrator, the third area boss
try,
of the
Chica.
Arkstone of the Small King.
And I
This
get
boss
about
has a
2
lot
or
of
3
wide sweeping
heals.
attacks that you gotta watch out for, but this boss acts as a glorified skill check. Telegraphed openings as well as managing stamina are key here.
My mana?
All you have to do is make sure you have enough stamina left to roll through his attacks. Sometimes we'll get hit, sometimes we won't. At the end of the day though, a few slashes in, ending it in style,
Got it.
we take the win. On to the last boss
Your
of
Souls
the
game?
area, Old
By
King
far.
Alon. This boss has quite a bit at his disposal between closing the gap between you and him across the arena within mere moments and having wind augments on his
that
sword
does.
swings. He can be quite the handful. Like the Penetrator,
just a
stamina
dash
management is key as well as being patient. I get a little bit greedy, going for more than 2 swings, and it ends up being quite punishing on my health bar, so I back off and stick to 1 or 2 swings. Thankfully, we are able to stagger him with our 2-swing hit. I didn't have the gall to try a 3-hit combo on him, as I was sure I would end up getting full comboed by him in turn.
Sometimes
Thankfully,
you just
with a bit of a face tank and a bit of luck, we're able to take the win on
first
our
try,
first
easy.
attempt.
Thank you, thank you.
On to the last
What's up, King
boss of the
Alon?
game, King Alon, aka Slug with an Ego. I'm not really sure what this fight is supposed to symbolize, or if we can just walk past him or not. I kinda just show him what's up because I wanted his sword. A few back swings in, he does do a fair amount of damage, so you have to manage not getting hit, but if you do, it's no issue to just walk around the arena and eat some grass.
But what if the old one didn't do that, though?
This game was quite a blast to play. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I'm looking forward to playing through Dark Souls 1 starting this week,
It's gonna be really
as well as
complex.
through the other Dark
This
Souls
fight,
games.
because
I'll be
it is
saving Dark
so
Souls
not
2 for
intensive.
last, as it is the lowest on the ladder of favorites for me. But if you want to see a boy get clowned on live on stream, check out the live streams, twitch.tv/SkullfishX.
What?
And everybody,
just supposed to
hope
walk
you all stay
into
safe and
this?
take care. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all in the next one, everybody.